upper left corner of our screen, there'll be a red record button. And you should probably see it now. That's a good indication that somebody's recording the session. Somebody might not tell you, but you can see if they're recording by that. You get a copy of the recording. The host gets a copy of the recording and a transcript of the chats after the meeting. After you press stop record, you get an MP4 file sent to your Google Drive. And I'll show that a little bit later. But that's what I'm doing. I'm recording. So I'm just going to go ahead and start. I want to show you all how to schedule a meeting using Google Calendar. Okay? So I'm going to share my screen. And you should start seeing my calendar. Do you see my calendar? Can somebody verbally tell me, unmute yourself and tell me you see my calendar?
Yes, we see it.
Awesome,
Yes.
awesome. And so that's another best practice, is to check in with your audience, verify that they're seeing what you're seeing. Yeah, we want to have a good rapport in our meeting, and sometimes, like, yeah, just helping the audience is great. So here I am at my calendar. I'm going to come to my next week because this week's pretty cluttered. Okay, so here there's an opening 11 a.m. on Friday the 3rd. Right here is the 11 a.m. line. Right here. I'm going to double click right there. And it's going to open up the event completely so I can put in details. Okay, this is the Meet Cal test. It's on April 3rd from 11 to 12. It does not repeat. Down here, I'm going to add conferencing. This is a really important part. I'm going to add the Google Meeting. Hangouts Meet right here. Okay. After that happens, I can see further details by clicking this little arrow to the right of the Meet URL there, the address. And so I can see the address right here, and I can see the call bridge information. It's that call bridge information that I was talking about earlier. Nice. So that URL, at the end of the URL, there's a code. And this one, it happens to be NJQ-CVCP-HQI. This that comes after the slash. It says meet.google.com and the slash. Everything after the slash, that's the code for the room. You can use that. You could send that code, or somebody could enter that code into a meeting entryway, portal, so to speak. What I mean by that is I can come here at any time and click this waffle menu, and they're pretty consistent placing this in their apps. So it's there, it's in the calendar, right? It's in Drive. So this menu here, when I click on Meet, it gives me my Meet landing page, and it shows me meetings that have been scheduled, or I can join another meeting or start another meeting ad hoc right here. Now that meeting code that comes after the slash of the meeting can be put in this box right here. You can copy that code and then put it in there and click continue, and it'll take you to that particular meeting. Or I could just click here and click, I can give it any name, like a, oh, no apostrophes, okay. Okay, and then click continue, and then it'll make a meeting room like that. So that's ad hoc, right? You'll notice this says this call is being recorded right there. Okay, so that's what that code is, and that's how you use it right here. Again, it's the information that comes after the slash right there in the meeting URL. Okay, additionally, I can invite people to this meeting. I can invite people that are loaded here already. It's got autofill. It knows who I speak with. Google does. But I could, have you all seen this? It's contacts, right? Google Contacts. You can make groups of people, and you can make a group of people. And so like here, this hip hop interest group, I've created this group of people, It could just easily be writing 121, math 111, whatever class you're teaching or whatever meeting you're having. Department, right? Your small department, like I work in the service desk. I have a group of service desk people. I can invite all at once. The hip hop group, though, that's pretty big. So I'm going to use that as an example. If I start typing in hip hop, it comes up. And when I click here, it will put them all in at once. Very sweet. And then when I click the save button up on top, it will invite all of these people at the same time, and they will get all of the meeting information sent to them in an email, all of this meeting information, as well as any agenda or anything that you put here. Now, if you're planning a meeting ahead of time, you can attach files here. You all know how to do that, I'm sure. You click the paperclip here, and then you can pick which files you want from Google Drive or from your hard drive. Put them here. When I save that, everybody, all those people would have got an invitation if they were loaded in there. And if I put files in there and I attach them to the event, right, those files will show up down here in an attachment, little tab right here. So you can preload files for a meeting if you want to. Right? I would probably put it somewhere else. Maybe if I was teaching a class, I might put it in D2L, or if I had a bunch of files, I want to make sure my class gets them and they're organized. I might share them in a Google folder, so they're all nicely organized already. But you can put attachments here for your meeting. And in here, this stuff is all just pulled from the event calendar. I filled this in beforehand. All right. Does anybody have any questions on that? I'm going to stop presenting for a second.
Yeah, Max, I have a question. So you were talking about clicking on when you have your meeting set up, there's like a link that you click on the left side, and then you put it in your Meet.
Yeah.
Where the dots are. And can you go through that one more time and explain like what that does? Like what?
Yeah, sure.
Is that sending a link to people?
It's a little bit overkill. So here's the deal. Each meeting that I create beforehand has this URL in it, right?
Okay.
And all anybody has to do that's been invited is click on this, and it'll take them straight to the meeting. That's all they have to do. But you could also copy, see that code right there, that what comes after the slash. So it says meet.google.com, then there's a slash, right? Everything that comes after that, these characters right here, can be put in a box. So if you can go like this, here to the menu right here,
yeah,
create an ad hoc meeting or to join a meeting. In this case, I'm joining a meeting because I have a code. Somebody gave me that code. It would be the case that somebody gave you that code, and then you put it in here, and it's not, I didn't copy it, right? But you put it in there and click continue, and it will take you to that specific meeting. But 9 times out of 10, people don't need that because they already have the link, right? They already have this, and they just click that and they go there. You could totally copy this and send it to somebody in a chat, right? And when they click on it, they would go to the meeting. You could send it in an email. It's just a URL.
Oh, I see. So like if they don't have their calendar up, you can send it to them other ways to get to that.
Yeah, it's an additional way to access the meeting. I just wanted to explain that because it's confusing when you come to meet and you open up an ad hoc meeting. It says, do you want to join a meeting? Put the code in here. And that's what the code is. I'm trying to explain beforehand. Like it almost doesn't make sense when I explain it beforehand, but I'm trying to give you as much info as I can. Good question.
There's one more in the chat there too, Matt.
Thank you. You can set one up a long time beforehand. I haven't checked what the detail is. So Arlette, do you happen to know? Arlette is my colleague. She works with Google Suite here. Do you happen to know how far in advance you could set up a meeting?
I don't think there's any limit.
Yeah, I've never ran into a limit before. I've set up meetings going on for like a year, like repeating meetings. And It's worked great. Now that's one thing I didn't talk about. If I was going to come and create, here's a repeating event, right? So here's this event, but I want to create an repeating event. Maybe it's a class I teach every Friday from 11 to 12. So I could come here weekly on Friday. When I save this, it's going to put an event just like this every Friday. And here you can do it every Friday, but here custom, you can actually tell it when to stop. So it says every Friday, once a week, and you can tell it when to stop. It can stop at the end of the term, right? If this was a class, it could stop never. So never that's a long time. So when I save this, if I were to save this now, it would create an event every Friday until the date I said, and it would also copy all of this information exactly the same. So it would be the same meeting URL every time and the same call-in information every time. Yeah. Sorry I didn't talk about that at first. I almost forgot. Oh, cool. Does anybody have any questions about that stuff? Okay, yeah. Feel free to ask questions. Again, it's cool. So let's see here. What am I going to talk about now? Yeah, I want to show you down here. I'm going to continue across this toolbar here. There's the microphone button, right, which is very useful to mute yourself. The hang up button, you leave the call, right? And this one I find particularly useful, the camera button, right? I might wake up late for a meeting, especially nowadays, and not have my hat on, and my hair will be like all crazy looking, like a mess. In that case, I would just click on that little camera and turn it off, and then I get my Google icon from my email in there. See that? And it just shows, you can see little modulations coming out as I speak. So if people don't like to share their camera or their image or whatever, they can always turn it off. Turn it back on. Here's a best practice too. A best practice might be if you had a classroom, like in here right now, there's 46 people, you might ask everybody to turn off their cameras to conserve bandwidth, except for the person that's presenting. That might be helpful. So to continue on, right next to the camera, well, right next to it, a little bit over to the right, there's the turn on captions, which is pretty impressive. I'm going to click on that, and it's going to start captioning automatically in real time pretty soon. And it's kind of like, it reminds me of Google Translate in the sense that it gets most of it, but it's not perfect. So I think you can use it in a pinch. But if you were going to, I'm going to turn it off now. If you were going to record this session to use later on, one thing you would want to do is make sure you have some sort of blurring tool so you could blur out any student information like their names and their faces. Yeah. But another thing is you would send the MP4 file that you get sent to your Google Drive to Cepeda over in instructional support, and they can have it captioned for you professionally, and it'll look beautiful. It'll be nice and sweet for anybody that needs captions. So that's pretty cool. Right here is the You Are Presenting button. Now, I'm going to stop presenting for a second because I'm only sharing one window, but I'm going to share my entire screen right now so I can show you a video that I made of me presenting, because I can't really show you what I'm doing before I share my screen, right? You won't see it, but I made a video that shows that part of it. So I'm going to try to play that for you right now. Let's see if it works. I always feel so brave doing this stuff. It's scary. It's not really scary. It's kind of fun. Let's see if it works. Okay. You should be seeing, actually, did I share my screen? Let's see if I shared my screen. No, I did not. Let me share my screen. Okay. Here we go. Okay, you should start seeing it shortly. Okay, I got blue on. You see that? I'm going to press play. Let's see if it works. Yeah, so I'm gonna come down to present, screen share. I'm gonna click this button here. Present a window or entire screen. I'll present a window. It wants me to click the window. Click it, I get the highlight around it. Then the share button becomes available. Then I can share. Sharing. So if I want to do a PowerPoint, let's say here's a PowerPoint in the background, I'll present a window and ask me which application I want to share or which window. I'm going to choose PowerPoint, share, and then here I can do my PowerPoint. Yeah. Were you able to see that? And were you able to hear it? All right, great.
Yes.
Great, awesome. So one of my colleagues in instructional, they were in one of my first sessions and they were like, oh, hey, you should make a video of that. And I did. It works, all right, cool.
Max, can I ask you a question?
Please, go ahead.
This is Brian. We're doing the new student advising and registration sessions online now, and we've got a Google slideshow that we have as part of our presentation, and the slideshow has a video that's embedded in it, and we're finding that when we play that video, it's really choppy on the student end, so we decided just to stop playing it. Is there a way to address that where that we could fix that so it's not so choppy? Because your video didn't have that problem at all.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Brian. And I'm on a wireless network too. I'm not hooked up with a wire or anything. I have had it get choppy. The video looks a little bit choppy, just the straight video from the camera here. But your question makes me think: was that video on YouTube or anywhere? Is it on the web?
It's basically I believe you can link to YouTube. I'm not sure if you have to link to YouTube. If you have.
What I'm saying is that I would find a video and have the video up already in the background, and then I would, play your slideshow up to that point, then stop the slideshow, and then bring up the video in another tab, like straight from YouTube, and then play, or wherever it is. I'm not sure where it's at, but play it from there and see if that helps. That might help. It might be interfering, being embedded.
I'll give it a shot. That's great. Thank you.
If you continue to have problems, though, let us know. Okay, we can help you. We'll figure it out. All right.
And Max, too, I would add that if you do it that way, you want to share your whole screen so that you can flip between different applications.
Yes.
Thanks for adding that. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, you'll notice when I was earlier, I was presenting. I was stuck in one window. I went to present and I chose to present one window, but then I wanted to show that video, which was in the background behind the browser. When you choose, you only want to present one window, it kind of stays stuck to the tab that you have selected. So I wouldn't have been able to share that video. I had to stop sharing, stop presenting. It's called presenting, screen sharing is called presenting in this thing, and go back and share the entire desktop so you could therefore see the video. Yeah. I'm going to check the chat box here. There's some people asking some questions. I'm going to check and see if I missed anything. Huh. Daniel, do you see anything now? Daniel says he doesn't see anything. Sometimes yeah, so that's good. Nelly says sometimes the video should be downloaded to the computer and then play it from your computer, Brian, and then that'll probably help. The streaming is the problem. That can be a problem.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. Thank you.
Nancy, there's no whiteboard in here. Yeah. I would love to learn how to use a whiteboard. I always thought that was so weird. I used to use these different tools online to teleconference and stuff, and they always had these whiteboards, and I always thought, awesome. And then when I would try to use it, it would come out looking like Microsoft Paint or something, like all super wacky, like bad graffiti. But I'm sure you know how to use a whiteboard. I don't know how to use them. There's no whiteboard in here. Also, in this in Meet, there is no multiple screen shares. I've been told in Zoom you can do like a bunch of screen shares at one time, although I don't know how useful that would be. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Yeah. So let's see here. I got another chat question, maybe. How can I minimize the chat boxes like you have it, Max? You know, here's something. Right to the right of the presenting button, there is the infamous Google vertical ellipses here. I say that jokingly. Yeah, this is where you start recording and you stop recording, right? But right below that is the layout. I can change the layout of this thing. So I could go to sidebar here, and then you can see more people. You cannot, yeah, Karen, I don't know. It depends. Maybe they don't like D2L. But I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe they're not familiar with Zoom and they're really familiar. They asked the question of why would somebody choose Meet over Zoom or Zoom over D2L or Zoom over Meet. It could be the case that I'm well versed in Meet already, and then this virus comes along and I'm thrown into teaching online suddenly, and I don't have very much experience with it, but I have a lot of experience teleconferencing on Meet with my buddies and with other people. So I have a lot of Meet skills already. It might be easier for me to learn how to use Meet then. I wouldn't have to really learn how to use it. I know how to use it already, instead of going and trying to learn a whole new application. But yeah, well, that's a good point. I'm not arguing for anything. You can use whatever you want, and I've been told that you can use either one to teach. So so it's up to the instructor. I'm agnostic, you know. If I was in D2L and I had a shell right now, if I was teaching, I'd probably be using Zoom, but I'm not. So I don't really like D2L, so I don't go there unless I'm teaching. Yeah, so but that's me, you know, and I don't want to sway anybody's opinions. But here's something. I'm going to share this tutorial, a Google Meet tutorial with you that has all of the basics that we're covering today, step by step. And the way it works is the text instructions are on the left, and then in this column there's images. You click on that to expand the images. But I'm going to share this in the chat, and at the bottom of that page there is a nice comparison. I'll go back and we can see it down here somewhere. Yeah, Zoom or Meet down here. Now Melanie Budeman put this together, so this is really like a good viewpoint here. It's not for me. Well, my viewpoints are good too, but there's no bias here, right? What I'm saying is there's both of us made this. So Zoom's integrated with Brightspace. It's already part of D2L if you're using it. There's a whiteboard tool. There's annotation tools on a shared screen or whiteboard. This is really cool. I think it's a lot. This is a good plus. You can make other rooms, breakout rooms for student groups. There's polling built in. That's a plus too. Multiple shared screens are possible. Again, I don't know how useful that would be, but I'm sure it could be useful in some contexts. You can record the Zoom meetings. There's mobile apps for Zoom and for Meet. Up to 250 people can be in Zoom, Meet. Looks like 300 people can be in Zoom. So there's a nice comparison for you down there. Does that help? Oh, you're oh, okay. Yeah, so then and the Chromebook would probably work pretty well with I'm guessing would work with Meet. Mallory says that I know my Chromebook does not have enough memory to use Zoom. So yeah, then in that case, try it. I think also they changed Zoom, so now you don't have to download anything on your computer. I think it just says start Zoom or something like that. Yeah, so sorry, the Spaces link is in the chat. So the chat is up here, and you see the little caption bubble right here. If you click on that, it opens up, and you can see it. And so the link is right there. Do you see that, Laura? All right, so I'm going to come back here to keep describing the interface here. I could change the layout to several different layouts, right? That sidebar with all the people there, Spotlight is what I had it on before. It just keeps one person there. Whoever's speaking comes up in the middle. Or tiled, that tries to show everybody in the room, but it's not going to show everybody in the room right now. It's just going to show a few. There's too many people. So turn on captions, that's redundant. This is really important, settings. Settings are always important. So you can help somebody troubleshoot, right? Somebody comes in the meeting and they're speaking, but you can see their lips moving, but you can't hear anything. So either they're muted or something's wrong with their microphone probably. So you can tell them, hey, go down lower right corner. There's a vertical ellipsis, 3 dots standing up. Click on that. Go to the gear and go to settings. And then you can come in here and you can see, like if I had my headset on, I just had my headset died the other day, and it died in the midst of a session. And I came in here and I just switched to my built-in stuff. But so like you could say, hey, it could be the case that they have 2 microphones and one of them doesn't work. And you could say, hey, go to the down menu and switch to the other microphone and see if it works. You could see that it's working with this little symbolic little expansion thing moving up and down. Here's my speakers. Now, if I had external speakers to the laptop, they would be listed here as well. And so like maybe my laptop speakers don't work, but my external ones do. I could switch them here. And once I get the right one on, I would test it. I'd click this, and then it gives me a little sound. Okay, that sounds good. It works. Okay. Now, up here, there's a tab for video as well. If I click that, it shows my camera, right? And if I had, let's say, it could be the case that somebody's laptop camera is broken, and then they have a webcam, right? So they come in, and you can't see their video. You could say, hey, go down to the settings, click it, click the video tab, and then look at your camera. Is the right one selected? Select the webcam. And they select it, and then it starts working. Now down here is the resolution. So there's high definition, which is going to use up more bandwidth, right? It could be the case that I'm at 720p using up a lot of bandwidth, but my video is real choppy, right? So I could come down and lower it down to 360p for better video. Now this is video I'm sending out. And again, I'm on wireless, so it might be better if I'm on 360p for my audience. I don't know what I'm looking like on here, and I always look good, but I don't know if I'm all grainy or not. So here is the reception, right? I'm getting standard. This 360p, it really narrows the bandwidth down, and it takes away everybody else's video except the presenter, and that way it saves bandwidth. Now, when I select this, watch, Karen is probably going to disappear there, Karen Morgan, and just have that video and my video up, and everybody else will be gone because it's trying to save bandwidth. Let's see if it works. Let's see if that happens. Oh, Karen stayed there, but everybody else disappeared. See that? So I'm looking here in the sidebar. They didn't disappear, but their little avatars came up, right, from Gmail. I'm going to go back here, and if it was really bad, I could go to audio only, and we can just have like a verbal conversation. Yeah, okay. So that stuff is all really important. It's good troubleshooting stuff. You can help people troubleshoot. Now, here's something. Let's say, well, this happened to me a while back. I was having an interview here at PCC, and the audio didn't work. And I was like, oh, God. Something always happens, right? But we were able to quickly figure out, oh, yeah, we got phones we can call, and we have this phone bridge information, right? You can call in with that, but you can also do this. It's pretty cool. If you come here, you can click Use Phone for Audio. When I click that, it gives me a pop-up, and I can put my cell phone number in there. I can even tell it to remember. And I can tell it to call me, and then it'll call me. And then I pick it up, and then it gives me the audio for the room. It's pretty sweet. So that's another troubleshooting thing you can do. If somebody's having severe problems with their audio, maybe they don't have speakers, they could participate in a video meeting using Meet, but use the phone for audio. So that's pretty nice.
Can you talk about the audio feedback a little bit? The feedback distortions that happen when people use their phone.
No, I don't. Why don't you talk about it?
I mean, I'm not very savvy about exactly what's happening. My assumption is if your phone speaker is facing the speakers from your computer, it causes a feedback loop, and it's pretty brutal. So if somebody's using a separate phone, they want to point it away from the speakers.
Thank you. So yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So, but these are things you can try, right? I'm stuck. I don't have audio. I'm going to try using the phone. If it works, it works. But if you get really severe audio, sometimes, I mean, severe feedback, I've been able to walkie-talkie it where like I can mute myself, right? And then unmute myself and say like a sentence and then mute myself again pretty quick because the feedback will start again pretty quick. But I usually can get like a sentence out. It depends. So these are things that can happen. And this is something, this is a part I want to say, like, use this tool like as if you were like physically there, like, you know, somebody was saying last week, like, oh my God, Max, like this stuff is terrifying. And it is terrifying. I'm not trying to be an IT sage or nothing like that, right? I don't know that much, but I do know that sometimes when I go to teach in a classroom physically, I get there and something happens in that class that makes it so I can't do the content that I wanted to cover, right? Maybe something happens where I can't even cover what I wanted to cover that day. But I always make the best of it, and a lot of times we end up learning stuff even better than what we're going to cover. What I'm trying to say is, like, things happen, but try not to let them ruin things. Like, it's you know, that sounds super like Max is telling me this, but really, like, just try to have an attitude where, like, this stuff is like, you know, things will happen, just like in the real world, things happen, and then you just like make the best of it. Yeah, you can mute yourself on the phone. That's a good point. By pressing, what was that, *6? Yeah, *6. Good. So if you call in only on the phone, you can what was that? Unmute yourself, right? Is that what you said? So you can mute yourself on the phone by pressing 6. So what is the code for unmuting yourself on the phone? I thought it was 6. I don't know what it is. So I can't remember what it is. So anyway, I want to talk about this people column right here because I didn't talk about that. It's right here at the top of the screen. It says there's 44 people here. That's decent attendance. Nice. Thank you so much for being here. So it could be the case that somebody comes in and they're unmuted and they're getting really bad feedback. So you could just come in here and mute them. And it's going to say, hey, you're going to mute Brian for everybody in the call. Okay. But only Brian can unmute themselves. That's what I was trying to say earlier. Like, they can unmute themselves. Thank you, Brian. It makes sense, right? Because over here, Beth might be talking about something that she doesn't want everybody to hear, or maybe there's something going on in the background, right? Or yeah, Allison's got some music playing in the background or something. And then if I were to unmute it, that wouldn't be cool, right? The host can't unmute people. They have to unmute themselves. Here's something else. If you want to keep track of somebody, maybe you lose their presentation, find their face on the sidebar and click on it, and it will bring them up to the forefront, and you can see them. So here's something else. Let's say Brian keeps being obnoxious, right? Brian would never do that. Brian's cool. I love Brian. But I could remove him. I could boot him out of the meeting by clicking that minus sign right there. Can Brian come back? Yeah, he could come right back if they have the URL. So it's not like you could ban them, but you could boot them. That's probably not going to happen, but you could. So let's see here. Just looking at my outline to make sure I cover everything here. Oh yeah. So the recording. You get a recording sent to Google Drive, and it looks like this. The first time you record a meeting, Google Drive will automatically create a folder for you called Meet recordings. They're right here. Okay, cool. And this is the last one I had. The recording comes with a chat transcript. I click that, it'll open it up. And so I can do follow-ups, right? I might have missed questions in the chat. I can check this out and follow up after the meeting. That's super nice. But here's the video. I click that, it will, let's see if it plays.
And that will prevent the
Yeah, cool. So there's a point from when you receive the video, it might be like 6 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, a while before you can actually play it like I just played it. Then you would have to download it. So here's the thing, like if I was teaching and I wanted to use this video, I created this video and it's got all my students' faces in it, right? It's got them in it, right? But I want to use it for my class. I would wait until after I could play it in here. I would double click on here, see if it plays.
and that will
Cool, it plays, great. So then I would come over here and right click on this and I'd go share. And then I would get the shareable link. The shareable link here, right here, this down menu, down arrow, shows you what those permissions are. They can view, that's cool, that's what I want. I could make it so they can comment, right? I might want some comments back. Let's just do view for this case. And I'll copy, so it's anybody at PCC with the link, which sounds like it's a huge group of people, right? Anybody at PCC. I'm gonna copy that link. But in this scenario, I'm teaching in D2L, so I put that link in D2L, and it therefore narrows down the amount of people that can reach that link and get to it, right? And it protects my students' privacy. Only they will have access to the video because only they can get to it through D2L, right? So yeah, so that's a good way to protect students' privacy with a video that you use. I've been told if you're going to record these videos and you want to use them in other classes, right, outside of the class that the people that are in the video are in, that you will want to anonymize this. You will want to take out personal information. You will want to blur people's faces and names out, etc. But for videoing, for recording in a class and then showing that content to the class, it's perfectly fine. You can keep everything just like it is, but share it with that link. Anybody at PCC with the link and share it in D2L. That would be the best practice for that. All right. Does anybody have any questions? That's a lot of Max yakking. I'm sorry. I like to be more interactive, but there's a lot of content I want to cover. Yeah, Laura says, for writing classes that require one-on-one conferences with students, I can imagine this being a great tool. I feel like for me, personally, I really enjoy having more than one option. Yeah, it's great. It's always great having more than one option, right? Totally. So what else? Yeah, there are mobile apps that work with Google Meet and with Zoom. The mobile app works really well. I've used it, and you can share your phone screen with the meeting room. I don't know how many of you want to do that, but you can do that. That is pretty cool. So let's see here. Does anybody have any more questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Sorry, we were having some issues earlier. Brian and I were testing it out where I would set up a Google Meet because there's going to be multiple of us once we get used to Google Meetups presenting the NSARs. And so I was trying to share my screen with him as a presenter. So I set up the meeting so I would be the presenter, and then I tried to share the screen, but it was just an empty box. Like there wasn't anywhere to click share screen.
Huh.
Do I have to upload something or do something before I can share my screen?
No, we're using Chrome?
Yeah.
Yeah? No, you shouldn't have to do anything. It should be just like in that video I showed it. There's a present now button. You click that button, then you get another menu that says, do you want to share your window or your screen, right? And then you pick which one you want. And then if you pick share a window, it shows you this little box, and it shows you all the available windows that are available. When you click on it, it makes the share button clickable. Like before you actually pick one of those windows, you can't click the share button. It's not clickable. But when you click on one of those windows, you'll get a little like gray outline around that window.
Oh, so we got to pick our window
Yeah.
first. Okay, we'll practice
Yeah.
that a little more and then maybe contact you if we're having any issues, more
Oh,
issues.
please. If you want to have practice sessions with me, that I'd be happy to. And that has been the case. That's been like the most when people mess up or can't figure out the screen sharing thing. It's happened a bunch of times in these sessions where I'll say, share your screen. And they'll be like, well, I'm trying and I can't figure it out. You actually have to click the particular window that you want to share and then click the share button.
Okay, and those windows are where we find in the little 3 dots on the bottom right. Is that what you're
No.
talking about?
No. So here, let me share my screen real quick. All right. You should be seeing the Google Meet, our meeting from my point of view now. And if I come, I'm moving my mouse like this. If I come down here to, well, it says you are presenting, right? When I press that button, well, before I present, it says present now. And I click on it. Then it says, do you want to present a window or your entire desktop? You choose a window, right? Then it gives you another box that pops up in the middle of the screen, and it has all available windows, right? And then you click on that particular window that you want to share. Once you do that, you'll get a gray outline around that window, and you can click the share button. You cannot click the share button until you click on one of the windows that are in that little area. So I hope that helps. But you know what
Okay, we'll have to practice.
What I would say is go to the tutorial. I'll share it again in the chat here. And in the tutorial itself, there are pictures of the screen share. So that should probably help.
Hey, Max, can you remind people how to get to the chat window? I think they're having trouble finding your links.
Sure thing, yeah. So the chat is up on the top. If you look on the upper right-hand side, there's a little people tab. It says there's 43 people in here. Then right to the right of that, there's like a little caption bubble, a little square with lines in it. When I click on that, that opens up the chat and the people. I can see everybody who's in here, and I can also chat with them. So that's how you get to the chat. Thank you, Arlette.
Also, just to remind people that the links will disappear when the session's over. So you want to copy those over somewhere safe.
That's a good point. This chat is only here from the point when you come in to you leave. So if somebody comes in right now at this second, they won't see this because I've just shared it before they got here. If you leave and then come back, all of the chats will disappear. What you can do if you want a chat that keeps the history is you can come, there's a new tool, I don't know if you know about it, but if you come to the Google Apps Launcher here, you can pick this chat app, turn that thing on. This is super nifty. You can probably figure out ways to use it. You're all smart. We could probably use this in our job somehow. But this thing, you can create rooms. Like I have a service desk team room, a gray head for old people room here, my old colleagues, my friends. And then, where is it at? I can create like my own office right here. And then somebody could come and ask questions, leave questions in my office for me, and I could come back and answer them. It will, all of the stuff will stay here. This is also super nice because you can kind of turn this on and off, the history thing, but you can also upload stuff. You can share stuff from Google Drive. You can start a little video meeting right from here. And there's some emoticons. In this chat, it's a different chat. It's not as good as that chat. You can't have rooms. You can't have private chats. You might be used to using WebEx and other tools where you can chat. Like if I wanted to send a private message to Mark, I could just send a message to only him. But in this room, everybody sees all the chats, so there's no private chatting. Yeah. Let's see here. Any other questions, please?
Max, I've got one for you. I noticed that I can go down here to, in my corner where you see you are presenting, I see Max Macias is presenting. If I click on that, it looks like I can just take it over if I want.
Do it. Do it.
So if I take over, the question is, so I just took over the session, so now I can I can show you I've got these. I went on vacation last year. Let me show you some of these photos.
So now I would castigate you because I'd be like, hey, what are you doing? This is my session.
Right.
What the hell are you
So
doing?
I'm going to end that presentation.
Yeah,
but the point I wanted to make, though, if this will let me, I'm going to go ahead and end that. But I've noticed on the sessions we've had that it's kind of hit and miss. Sometimes people will click on that and will say, Max is presenting, and you have to relinquish control. But other times, anybody can take over. And I don't know that it's going to become an issue because I don't think students are going to try to take over the show. But I was wondering what determines when that happens. Whether or not you have to relinquish control or if I can just take over anytime.
You should be able to take over anytime.
Yeah, I don't know if there's I've seen that a little bit myself too. I don't know if it's somebody joins with an email that's not in PCC. Also, it may be that the students who are in a slightly different grouping of Google permissions than staff may have a different experience too. I haven't really been able to nail that down. And truthfully, Google's been kind of changing that a little bit under our feet as well. So that's a moving target.
Interesting.
So to get around that thing, I would just have meeting conventions, right? Like, hey, we're going to have a meeting. When we have a meeting, only one person can present at a time.
Right.
So if I'm presenting, please don't present because you can knock me right out. And then, you know, if somebody starts bumping me out over and over again, then we'll go from there. But I doubt that will happen because my colleagues are professional. The students are pretty damn smart and they're pretty cool. So I don't know, maybe it'll happen. It could happen.
I like I said, I don't think it's going to be an issue. I'm more concerned with what Mallory mentioned earlier when we're trying to share screens and I'm able to share my screen, but other people are unable to. Or it'll even say up in the left corner where it says record now, it'll say Mallory is presenting, but I'm not seeing her screen. So it's really kind of baffling.
Here's the deal. Let me explain that to you. I think I know what it is. I'm going to share my screen again, okay? I think I know what it is. So if you look at the top of the screen here, it's got a picture of me, and then it's got a picture of me presenting. It says Max Macias on one of them, and then the other one says Max Macias presentation, right? You see that?
Yep.
There are two. If I click on the one that says just Max Macias, I see my camera, right? Right here. If I click on the presentation, I get this weird like psychedelic cascading effect. You see that? It goes on forever. It reminds me of a video game I used to play when I was a kid. But when I used to use Google Hangouts, it used to do this to me quite often, and I could never figure out really what was causing it and how to prevent it from happening. So I think when they developed Google Meet, they came up with, oh, you can have two instances. This only happens when you present. Do you have this other instance? So I think it's a way to keep. So what I'm saying is, when somebody's presenting, they'll have two boxes. You'll have Max Macias and Max Macias presenting. Click on the box that says Max Macias is presenting, and you will see that presentation. Right now, you're seeing the cascading effect, but if somebody else is presenting and you can't find it, find their name, and where it says presentation, their name, there'll be two boxes. Click on the one that says presentation, their name, and then that should bring it up to the forefront. You should see it. Try that next time you experiment with Mallory. I think that's what's going on. It might not be, but let me know, please. I'd be interested to know if that's what it is.
Will do. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. We'll try that. Yeah.
Great question. Great question. I hope that helped, Mallory, because I didn't quite understand that at first. I think I misinterpreted that. But thank you guys for being here. Let's see here. I'm checking the chats because I think I might miss something. Okay. Yeah, so that's another best practice thing, right? If I was going to have like 41 people in a room, I might want to have somebody to help me, somebody to monitor the chats, so I could focus on my presentation and people could bring the chat questions. My friend, my helper, my buddy that's helping me could point out the chat questions to me. A couple of times that's happened already in this meeting. It's awesome. But that's quite helpful. But another thing you can do is say, hey, if you have a question, verbally ask it. Like unmute yourself and verbally ask it. That way I won't miss it. There's 40 some people in here. And if you start asking chat questions, I might miss it in the midst of what's going on. So feel free to unmute yourself and ask the question, please. That's another good practice, I would say. Does anybody have any other questions, please? I'm going to share a couple of links with you. A couple of more links with you. I'm going to share my screen real quick here. So the first one, I already shared this link with you. It's the Google Meet tutorial I created. There is another page that I created of videos of Google Meet. Here's the link right here in the chat box. Again, to get to the chat, you go to the top of the screen, click on the little caption bubble. It should open the chat. Those links are there. The one I just shared with you is Google Meet training videos, and these, how to start a Google Meet, how to schedule one with a calendar. And down below the meeting is more information for you. Google Meet chat, muting a participant, and presenting with Google Meet. So this will show you a little bit more on presenting too, and it'll also give you some more information on presenting down there. So that's the second link I shared with you. Hopefully that will be helpful. You can expand these videos to full screen by clicking on that little icon right there. I also wanted to share this with you. IT has worked really hard to create a telecommuting page with a lot of good relevant information for you all. It has information about telecommuting, coronavirus, help, how to get help, information about Meet. Here's some work tips from home. Virtual meeting etiquette. This is new. The IT manager just created this recently. It's pretty sweet. A bunch of.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead, please.
What is, this might seem silly, but like, what's the difference between Google Meet and Hangouts? Like, what, I'm getting confused now between all.
Yeah. It's insane branding from rich people. I don't understand, right? Like, it's stacks of money. Can't they get people to brand their stuff correctly, right? Like, that's what's going on, because it's confusing as hell. Like, here's another thing. Sorry to say that, but it's super confusing, right? So there's this chat in here, right? And then there's this chat over here, and then there's this chat, right? And also, like, their labels, right? Their contacts used to be called contact groups, but they figured out that they use groups in other contexts, like Google Groups. So they changed this to contact labels. They have a problem with their branding, and it's horrible. And what they're doing is they have an old product, and they're phasing it out, but they're trying to not confuse people by linking it to the new product, which is confusing people, in my opinion. I mean, you just said you were confused a little bit, and that's what's going on, because I'm confused about it sometimes too. Here's something that's really wacky. So we're in Google Meet right here, right? If I come to email and I go, hey, I'm going to start a video meeting with Mel here, and I click on this little camera right here, it starts out an old school Google Hangout, not Google Meet. So they're transitioning, as Arlette mentioned earlier, they're like moving stuff under our feet, and their branding is in my opinion, it's really bad, especially for the amount of resources that they have. I know that didn't answer your question very well, but like
that's perfect actually, because now I'm just remembering back where everyone was like, Google Hangouts, that's the thing. And now it seems to be switching. So I'm starting to get it. Thank you.
So they have it. It's called, I think it's called Hangouts Meet now, and then eventually it'll just be called Meet. But when it was first presented to me, it just said Meet. So I started making stuff, creating documentation and stuff, Google Meet. And then all of a sudden I started seeing Hangout Meet. And I was like, oh, geez, I'm not going to change everything. But I'm sorry. That's a long story short. A long story there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's a great question. So does anybody else have any other questions? We've got about 3 minutes here. Okay. How about, let me ask Arlette. She's my colleague. She works with Google a lot. She's one of our analysts. Do you think I missed anything, talking about anything in this session?
I thought it was pretty comprehensive, Max.
How about you, Danny? Is Danny still here? Danny's our Google admin.
Yes, I agree, Max. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I want to thank everybody for their time, and I want you to know that IT is here for you. Please let me know if you want to practice. If you have any problems with me, I'll be happy to help you work them out. If I can't work them out, then we will get some smart people like Danny and Arlette to help us out. Thank you so much. I really hope everybody's staying well and healthy, and we're going to get through this time. It's just, it's kind of tough right now. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Max.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. I better stop that recording here. Okay.